Reddit is massive, millions of users, thousands of communities, and endless posts every single day. But what most people don't know is that Reddit has a much darker side, a side that's filled with hidden subreddits, deleted threads, strange AMAs, and rumored connections to the deep web that the average user never even notices. Today, we're breaking all of that down using an iceberg, starting at the surface where things look harmless and slowly sinking into the deepest, most unsettling theories about Reddit's hidden links to the deep web. Stick around because the lower we go, the creepier this gets. This is where things still seem normal. Nothing too dark, nothing too deep, just the kind of content you stumble across while casually scrolling Reddit. But even at this level, you can already see the first cracks forming. Tiny clues that hint Reddit might be more connected to the deep web than most people ever notice. One of the clearest examples is how often Reddit users talk about Tor. Subreddits focused on privacy and technology are filled with beginners trying to understand what Tor is, how it works, and how to stay anonymous online. On the surface, it's all educational and harmless, but it's interesting how many people say they first learned about Tor because of Reddit. It unintentionally becomes a gateway, not to illegal content, but to the tools that eventually lead people toward the deeper parts of the internet. The same thing happens in subreddits like r Deep Web, which, despite the name, are mostly filled with curiosity rather than anything dangerous. Most posts are people asking innocent questions, sharing myths, or showing spooky screenshots they found somewhere online. It's like a tourist attraction for people who want to talk about the deep web without actually going anywhere near it. But what stands out is how much engagement these threads get. The deep web is one of those topics that pulls people in, and on Reddit, millions of users treat it like a mystery they want to understand. Even though it's all surface level discussion, it shows just how curious Reddit's community is about what lies deeper. Then there are the AMAs, Reddit's Ask Me Anything posts. Every once in a while, someone shows up claiming to be a hacker, an ex-deep web moderator, or someone who browses the dark web every day. These AMAs get attention fast, gathering tons of questions in minutes. But they almost always follow the same pattern. The original poster becomes vague, starts dodging questions, or disappears completely. Whether these AMAs are legit or just people role-playing, they contribute to the mystery. They make viewers wonder why these conversations always feel incomplete, like there's something people aren't allowed to talk about. And finally, there's the constant appearance and disappearance of onion links. Even though Reddit has strict rules, people still try posting Tor links only for them to be removed almost instantly. Not minutes later, seconds. This makes users question how Reddit catches them so fast. Some assume it's automated detection. Others think moderators are constantly watching. Regardless of the explanation, moments like this make Reddit feel strangely connected to something below the surface, like the platform is constantly brushing up against the borders of the deep web while trying to keep distance from it at the same time. Even here at the top of the iceberg, the hints are already there. The deeper we go, the stranger it becomes. You start to notice another pattern, Reddit users constantly sharing guides, tips, and safe browsing checklists that, while not directly linking to the deep web, create a sort of preparation zone for anyone curious enough to explore it. You'll see long threads explaining how VPNs work, how to avoid tracking cookies, how to isolate browsers and virtual machines, or how to use privacy-friendly operating systems. None of this is illegal, and most of it is genuinely helpful tech knowledge, but the tone in these threads shifts slightly. People talk like they're preparing for something bigger, something that exists beyond the typical internet experience. It's still public and allowed, yet you can tell Reddit has become the place where beginners quietly start taking their first steps toward anonymity. There's also the strange fascination with surface-level, deep web stories that constantly pop up in popular subreddits. Every few weeks, a thread goes viral with a title like, "What's the scariest thing that you've seen on the deep web?" Or, "I accidentally clicked an onion link, what now?" These posts explode with attention, mostly filled with rumors, exaggerated tales, and copy-pasted creepypastas. But the reaction's always the same, thousands of comments, people asking for details, others warning them, some calling it fake. Even if none of the stories are real, the reactions show how deeply the idea of the deep web sticks in people's minds. Reddit becomes a stage for these myths to grow, and the platform unintentionally fuels the curiosity that pulls people closer and closer toward the actual thing. And then you have the new users who appear in these threads, almost always in the same way. They'll say things like, "I'm just curious, where do I even start?" Or, "How do people access this stuff?" These questions always get shut down, removed, or met with strict warnings from older members. But the interesting part isn't the question itself, it's how common it is. For every person who talks about the deep web for attention, there are 10 others simply curious about what exists beyond Google. Reddit becomes the place they turn to for answers, even though the community can never fully answer them. This creates a constant cycle. Curiosity leads to questions, questions lead to deleted posts, and deleted posts lead to even more curiosity. Moderators play a huge role in shaping the surface layer too. They're extremely strict in these communities, even for harmless discussions. A thread might start off innocent, someone asking about Tor or about how the deep web technically works, and suddenly a mod appears with a warning or a locked comment. Sometimes the entire post gets removed for rule violations, even when the discussion was fully legal. This makes users suspicious. People begin saying things like, "Why was this removed?" or "What rule did this break?" And usually there's no clear answer. The rules about discussion of illegal content are vague, which creates a chilling effect. Reddit feels open, but these moments show that there are invisible lines you can't cross, even at the surface. Another interesting thing that happens at this tier is the number of users who claim their posts were shadow banned or hidden without warning. They'll say things like, "My comment disappeared," or "Why does my thread not show up for anyone else?" Sometimes it's just the algorithm or an automod filter, but people interpret these disappearances as something more. They start connecting dots that probably don't need to be connected, imagining Reddit has deeper surveillance tools or filters specifically designed to catch anything related to certain keywords. Even if those theories aren't true, the feeling people get is real. Reddit might not be as free and open as it looks. This entire surface tier is basically the entry point, the doorway. You're not seeing anything disturbing yet, but you're seeing the roads that lead there. Reddit isn't the deep web, but it's one of the biggest places where people first learn about it, ask about it, hear stories about it, and start questioning how far the internet really goes. These early signs don't prove anything, but they set the tone. They create the sense that behind the memes and normal discussions, there's something much larger just out of sight. And that's exactly what leads us into the next layer of the iceberg, where curiosity starts turning into real speculation. As we wrap up this surface layer, one more thing becomes impossible to ignore. Reddit has a strange habit of preserving just enough information to spark curiosity while removing anything that goes too far. For example, if someone posts an onion link or anything even remotely close to a deep web address, it gets deleted almost instantly, but the comments reacting to it usually stay. People reply with things like, "What was the link?" or "Did anyone screenshot it?" And those comments remain untouched. This creates a weird effect. The community never gets the full story, but they always get the aftermath. And it's like seeing chalk outlines without ever seeing the scene. And this pattern, posts disappearing while the reactions remain, only fuels the idea that something hidden is happening behind the scenes. You'll also notice how often Reddit users mention coming across mysterious or suspicious posts that vanish before they could read them. Someone will comment, "I swear there was a thread here an hour ago," and another person will respond saying they saw it too, but no one can find any trace of it anymore. Sometimes it's simply because moderators acted fast. Sometimes the original poster deleted it. But the timing is always so perfect that users start forming little theories. Maybe the topic was too sensitive, maybe someone didn't want it staying up, or maybe Reddit has some automated system that catches certain subjects the moment they appear. Even if these theories aren't true, they spread fast because the internet is built around curiosity, and nobody gets more curious than someone who feels they've missed something. Another key part of this layer is the number of people who share on the edge information, stuff that sounds technical and mysterious but stays within safe boundaries. You'll see long comments explaining how onion routing works, or how encrypted communication tunnels function, or why some parts of the internet are intentionally unindexed. These posts don't link to anything unsafe, but they create an atmosphere of expertise. People start thinking, wow, some of the users here know a lot about this stuff. And once you see enough of those conversations, you begin wondering how many Reddit users are involved in deeper online communities. Reddit becomes this strange meeting ground between regular internet life and the worlds that exist beyond it. You also can't overlook the way some users talk about finding Reddit threads on the deep web, even though these claims are almost always exaggerated or taken out of context. Sometimes people on forums outside Reddit will screenshot threads from here and repost them, and by the time those screenshots travel far enough, they end up framed as content from the deep web. When those stories return to Reddit, they create a weird loop, Reddit posts being treated like deep web artifacts and then brought back to Reddit again. It's not proof of anything, but it does show how closely these two digital spaces orbit each other in people's imaginations. And finally, despite all the curiosity, all the myth building, and all the speculation, Tier 1 remains just that, the surface. Nothing here confirms any real connection between Reddit and the deep web. What it does show, though, is that Reddit is one of the biggest gateways into the conversation. It's the platform where people learn the vocabulary, hear the stories, see the screenshots, and get their first taste of the mystery. Even casual users who have never touched, toured, or visited anything beyond the regular internet still encounter deep web content through Reddit's lens. This creates a community where the deep web feels closer, more accessible, and more intriguing than it should for a mainstream site. Now we begin entering the part of the iceberg where things stop feeling harmless and start feeling suspicious. Tier 2 isn't dangerous and it's not outright disturbing, but it's the point where curiosity begins to overlap with real speculation. This is where Reddit goes from being a casual discussion hub to something that occasionally crosses paths with deep web culture, whether intentionally or not. The tone shifts, the threads get more serious, and the content starts hinting at connections that aren't as easy to explain away. One of the major themes in this tier is Reddit's obsession with the hidden wiki. In almost every deep web related subreddit, someone will eventually ask, does anyone have the latest hidden wiki link? Or is there a safe version of the hidden wiki? These posts get removed instantly, but the conversation around them never dies. People constantly talk about how the site changes URLs, how older links are unreliable, and how almost every mirror is a trap. Even without directly linking to anything, the discussions show how strongly Reddit acts as a rumor hub for the deep web. Users claim to have safe versions or verified mirrors, while others warn that every link is fake, infected, or outdated. It's like a never-ending circle of paranoia, misinformation, and half-truths. And what makes it interesting is that this entire topic exists in a kind of gray zone. Everyone talks about it, but no one is allowed to actually post anything concrete. Another key part of this tier is how cybersecurity subreddits naturally spill over into deep web conversations. On the surface, these communities are strictly educational, places where professionals and hobbyists discuss encryption, vulnerabilities, ethical hacking techniques, and online safety practices. But every now and then, threads appear where users casually mention testing exploits on non-indexed servers or scanning onion domains for research. Posts like those toe a very fine line. They don't break rules directly, but they clearly come from users who operate beyond the normal internet landscape. It creates this weird undercurrent, as if some Redditors are living double lives, regular commenters by day, deep web explorers by night. Nobody admits to anything, but the hints are always there. Then you have the people claiming to run or mirror dark web market sites. These threads pop up every so often, usually with a dramatic title like, I used to operate a mirror for a marketplace, AMA. Most of them get deleted quickly, but not before attracting hundreds of comments from curious users. Some of these OPs describe how mirror sites work, how markets avoid DDoS attacks, or how site owners try to prove authenticity. Others talk about scams, copycats, and fake clones that steal login credentials. Whether these people are real or just seeking attention, the pattern is the same. The moment a thread sounds too close to real deep web activity, moderators swoop in and shut it down. But that short window of visibility is enough for the rumor cycle to begin again. Screenshots get saved, discussion threads pop up questioning the legitimacy of the claims, and users start sharing personal theories about what Reddit hides or why certain posts vanish faster than others. Another element in this shallow layer is the constant spread of how to stay anonymous online guides. These posts go far beyond basic Tor explanations. Some users share multi-layered VPN chains, browser compartmentalization setups, or security practices borrowed from real-world OPSEC environments. You'll see comments warning people not to mix identities, not to log into accounts from the wrong machine, not to download unknown files, and not to trust any link without verifying it through multiple sources. None of this is illegal, and many people genuinely care about online privacy. But the tone in these conversations feels different, almost like they're preparing each other for a place that requires serious caution. These aren't your usual everyday security tips, they're closer to survival checklists. What makes Tier 2 fascinating is how all of this exists in a space that's still technically safe. Nothing here breaks Reddit's rules outright, but the energy is different. The conversations feel guarded, cautious, and oddly informed. It's the point where discussions stop being just curiosity and start sounding like people who have seen enough to be careful with what they say. And it's the tier where Reddit's connection to the deep web starts looking less like a coincidence and more like something that's woven into the platform's culture. As we move further through Tier 2, you start seeing another pattern, users posting educational material that comes off a bit too detailed. Someone will drop a 20-paragraph explanation of how dark web marketplaces structure their escrow systems, or how onion routing evades traffic analysis, or how law enforcement tracks certain activity using metadata. These posts usually end with a disclaimer like, "This is purely for academic purposes," but everyone reading them can feel the underlying tension. It's the kind of knowledge you only have if you've either researched this topic extensively or if you've been closer to it than you want to admit. Most of these explanations are harmless, but the tone is clinical, almost insider-like, and that makes them stand out. Reddit becomes a place where experts publicly dance around the edges of what they probably know privately. Another thing that defines Tier 2 is the sudden rise of cautionary posts. These are threads where someone warns others about phishing pages disguised as deep websites, or about malware bait onion links circulating on Reddit, or even about scammers impersonating well-known market operators. These warnings sound like they come from people who have clearly navigated that environment themselves, even though they always word things vaguely to avoid breaking rules. A user will say something like, "Trust me, don't click any onion link you find on Reddit. 99% are traps," which raises the obvious question, how do they know that? The comments under these posts often turn into long discussions about verification methods, PGP signatures, and chain of trust techniques that most normal internet users have never even heard of. It's still allowed content, but it sits right on the border of something deeper. One of the most interesting aspects of this tier is the appearance of half-disappeared posts. These are threads where you'll sometimes see comments replying to a message that no longer exists. Users start asking, what did the deleted comments say? Or, why did the OP remove everything? Sometimes moderators manually remove posts that mention too many specifics. Other times, the original posters get nervous and wipe their own content. But the result is always the same, a ghost conversation where the most important piece is missing. It's almost cinematic, the digital equivalent of a scene being cut from a movie, leaving only the actors' reactions. These moments make users feel like the topic is sensitive, as if certain knowledge shouldn't be shared publicly, even on a platform as big as Reddit. You also start seeing tension between moderators and users. Mods repeatedly remind people that discussions must stay general and cannot involve links, names, or instructions that cross the line, but users often push that boundary intentionally or not. Someone will say, "I found a list of onion services from a GitHub repository," and the mod instantly steps in with, "removed due to rule violations." Another user will mention they stumbled into a suspicious directory online, and the thread will get locked within minutes. These interactions create the feeling that Reddit is patrolled, not in the conspiracy sense, but in a way that makes this tier feel tightly monitored. The community is allowed to talk, but only within invisible walls that everyone is constantly tiptoeing around. Then there's the subtle paranoia that creeps into discussions. Users begin warning each other that law enforcement might monitor posts, or that Reddit logs IP addresses, or that talking about certain topics might put you on a list. None of these claims are confirmed, but they spread fast because they fit the vibe of the conversations. When people are dealing with subjects that feel risky, even the platform itself starts to look suspicious. Reddit becomes a place where users openly caution each other to be careful, even though technically nothing illegal is being said. It shows how the conversation has shifted from curiosity to caution, an unmistakable tier 2 energy. And lastly, there's the recurring belief that Reddit contains gatekeepers, veteran users who act like guides but also like bouncers. They show up whenever someone asks a question that's too specific, warning them, redirecting them, or telling them they're heading into dangerous territory. These gatekeepers never admit to knowing anything firsthand, but the way they talk, cryptic, careful, experienced, makes people speculate. Are they former explorers? Are they mods? Are they just overprotective? Nobody knows, but their presence adds to the atmosphere. Reddit isn't just talking about the deep web anymore, it's navigating it from a distance. Reddit is no longer just a passive observer in deep web culture. It's not participating and it's not directly involved, but it has become a border zone, a place where information from the deep web brushes up against mainstream internet users more often than most people realize. You begin to notice how common it is for someone to casually mention that they found something weird online, or that they ended up somewhere they shouldn't have. These stories never go into detail, but the pattern is consistent enough that it raises eyebrows. They're always vague, always half told, and always positioned in a way that implies there's more beneath the surface. Reddit becomes a kind of safe space for people to share experiences that they're not comfortable admitting anywhere else, even if they're not explicitly talking about anything illegal or harmful. Another curiosity in this layer is the number of users who claim that certain posts or threads they remember from years ago don't exist anymore. Someone will mention a massive AMA that got mysteriously wiped, or a subreddit that quietly vanished, or a long discussion thread that disappeared despite not breaking any obvious rules. Whether these memories are accurate or distorted by time doesn't matter, the effect is the same. People start wondering if Reddit has quietly removed entire conversations about certain topics, leaving behind only the memories of the users who saw them. It creates a kind of folklore inside the platform where old posts become legends that newer users aren't sure ever existed. These missing pieces make Reddit feel more like a maze than a message board. There's also this subtle trend of users talking about tools or methods that they've heard about from unnamed sources. They'll say things like, "I read somewhere that either someone once told me," and then describe very specific processes related to privacy, anonymity, or digital evasion. They never claim ownership of the knowledge. They always distance themselves just enough to avoid suspicion. But the level of detail makes it clear that the information didn't come from a basic YouTube video. It's secondhand knowledge passed through layers of conversations that likely started far beyond Reddit's boundaries. The more you read these threads, the more you pick up on the atmosphere of unspoken understanding. Users know not to post certain things. They know threads might get removed. They know the line between educational and incriminating is razor thin. So they adapt their language, they speak in hints, avoid specifics, and keep everything wrapped in plausible deniability. It's not because they're doing anything wrong, it's because the culture around deep web discussions on Reddit has trained everyone to be cautious. And that cautiousness is what marks the border between Tier 1 and Tier 2. Curiosity still exists, but now it's mixed with hesitation. You also start seeing users who claim to have been part of the platform during older, less moderated eras. They'll mention a time when rules were looser, when people shared more openly, when certain topics weren't instantly removed. They talk about old subreddits that would never survive today, or discussions that would be immediately banned under current guidelines. These recollections, whether exaggerated or not, paint a picture of a Reddit that once felt wilder, more experimental, and closer to the unfiltered parts of the internet. And imagining that older version of the site, one where deep web curiosity went unchecked, adds to the aura of mystery surrounding Reddit's relationship with the darker parts of the online world. By the time you reach the end of Shallow Waters, one thing becomes clear: Reddit isn't connected to the deep web through direct links or illegal content. Instead, it's connected through culture, curiosity, and community behavior. It's the staging ground where conversations begin, where myths spread, where half-truths grow legs, and where users slowly but surely drift closer to topics they don't fully understand. Nothing in this tier confirms anything sinister, but it undeniably hints at something deeper, something that feels just out of reach. This is the point where the iceberg shifts from weird but believable into territory that feels noticeably darker. Tier 3 isn't the deep end yet, but it's the first layer where Reddit stops feeling like a regular social platform and starts looking like a place where shadows linger behind ordinary posts. And the first major sign of that is how many anonymous confession subreddits exist. On the surface, they seem harmless, people venting, sharing secrets, looking for advice. But once you go deeper into these threads, you start seeing patterns. Some accounts look brand new, some confessions feel rehearsed, and a lot of posts hint at behavior that sounds suspiciously like early steps toward deep web involvement. Users talk about bypassing school firewalls, trying to access restricted networks, or experimenting with anonymity tools. None of it is criminal, but it's clear that some people treat Reddit like their training ground before heading toward darker places. Then you have the accounts that seem to live in the shadows, profiles that post exclusively in privacy forums, hacking communities, and obscure subs that hardly anyone knows about. They use VPNs religiously, talk in extremely specific technical language, and avoid personal details in every comment. What's strange is that many of these accounts never interact outside their small circle of niche communities. It makes them feel less like regular users and more like operators, people who are here for a very specific purpose. Some claim to be cybersecurity researchers, others say they're testing scripts, but the way they move across Reddit feels like a reconnaissance work, not casual browsing. Another oddity on this tier is a phenomenon users call vanishing threads. These are posts that exist for a few minutes, sometimes even seconds, before being deleted by their creators. People report seeing screenshots or step-by-step guides for questionable activities appear momentarily, only for them to disappear almost instantly. It's unclear whether these posts are deleted by users trying to avoid consequences or whether moderators remove them with unbelievable speed. But either way, the effect is unsettling. It makes Reddit feel like a place where things happen fast, in glimpses, and you only ever see half the story. A similar mystery surrounds those incredibly cryptic posts that show up in fringe subs. You'll sometimes find messages that look like coded logs, random strings of characters, or short paragraphs that read like someone talking to a partner through a hidden channel. Some users joke that these are deep web dead drops, while others believe they're just puzzles or alternate reality game clues. But every once in a while, someone tries to decode them and realizes they don't match any known cipher or puzzle format. They look like communication, just not communication meant for the average Reddit user. And finally, we reach the part of this tier that gets talked about the most: Reddit accounts that appear linked to automated deep web scraping bots. These accounts post suspiciously fast, gather obscure data, or reply with information that shouldn't be accessible through normal browsing. People claim some of these bots don't behave like typical Reddit automation. They respond at odd hours, ignore typical posting cooldowns, and sometimes interact with threads they shouldn't even be able to detect. No one knows who created them, but many users believe they're connected to external servers, possibly even ones operating in the deeper layers of the web. And if that's true, it means Reddit isn't just near the deep web. It might already be intertwined with it in ways most users never notice. One of the most intriguing elements is the number of threads discussing Reddit moderation patterns and hidden deletions. Many users speculate that certain posts vanish not simply because they break rules, but because they touch on topics Reddit doesn't want fully visible. People notice patterns. Posts discussing obscure security vulnerabilities, hidden directories, or onion-linked resources often disappear faster than mundane rule-breaking content. Some even claim that the platform has automated detection systems that actively scan for phrases, keywords, or link structures associated with the deep web. While there's no concrete evidence to confirm this, the consistency of post removals has fueled a community theory that Reddit is silently policing itself, filtering content that could draw the attention of outside authorities or expose connections to deeper networks. Then there's the AMA anomalies phenomenon. Reddit's Ask Me. Anything threads are normally transparent and open, but some AMAs in this tier have raised eyebrows. People claim that posters disappear mid-discussion or that entire comment chains vanish overnight, leaving only the initial questions intact. For example, someone might post, "I used to moderate a high-tier deep web forum, AMA," and within hours, all their detailed responses are deleted, replaced by vague comments like, "I can't talk about that anymore." Theories abound. Perhaps these were trolls, perhaps they feared legal repercussions, or perhaps these threads attracted attention from entities outside Reddit. Whatever the explanation, these events create an eerie feeling. Reddit is no longer a passive discussion platform, but a stage where the consequences of overstepping invisible boundaries become immediately apparent. Another aspect of this tier is the presence of user gatekeepers and influencers who appear to guide discussions on sensitive topics. These are accounts with long histories, usually posting only in privacy, cybersecurity, or fringe subreddits. They rarely reveal personal details, yet their advice carries weight. They warn newcomers about sites you shouldn't visit, links you shouldn't click, and how to behave if you want to remain undetected. To outsiders, these warnings might seem overcautious, but regulars treat them like informal rules, creating a hierarchy of trust. Many users speculate that these gatekeepers themselves may have connections beyond Reddit, whether to other forums, encrypted channels, or even networks operating deeper in the dark web. It's impossible to verify, but the reputation they hold reinforces the sense that Reddit exists as a controlled environment, guiding curiosity without letting it spiral out of control. Tier 3 also introduces the concept of hidden subreddits, sometimes called shadow communities. These aren't openly accessible via search or listings. Access usually requires invitations or referrals from known members, and the content often deals with topics that mainstream Reddit wouldn't allow. Some users claim to have glimpsed the threads discussing private tools, anonymized research, or coded communications resembling early-stage deep web coordination. While many of these claims are likely exaggerated or fabricated, the consistent reports over the years create a mythos. Reddit may house entire communities that operate almost entirely out of sight, sharing knowledge and information that never surfaces on the public-facing platform. One of the most mysterious phenomena in Tier 3 is the existence of phantom posts and missing archives. Old threads occasionally resurface in user memory or screenshots, but the original content is entirely gone. Some involve lengthy discussions about obscure security measures, supposedly leaked content from private forums, or hints of hidden databases. Users try to reconstruct the conversation, but they often hit dead ends, creating a persistent sense of a lost history that only exists in fragments. These phantom posts feed into the growing idea that Reddit is both a doorway and a barrier. It introduces users to deep web concepts while simultaneously erasing evidence of discussions that might get too close to reality. Finally, Tier 3 is where Reddit starts feeling like a bridge between normal internet culture and deeper, more secretive online networks. The patterns are subtle but undeniable. Vanishing threads, anonymous accounts with technical expertise, cryptic messages, disappearing AMAs, and shadowy gatekeepers all suggest that Reddit doesn't just exist near the deep web, it interacts with it indirectly. Users rarely access these connections directly, but the community's culture, language, and warnings serve as a low-level exposure to a world that is far less forgiving than the surface layer. Tier 3 isn't frightening yet, it's more about awareness. It's the first time users realize that Reddit isn't just a social network, it's a lens through which the deeper, darker parts of the internet become visible, even if only in fragments. As Tier 3 reaches its conclusion, the deeper patterns begin to emerge clearly. By now, it's obvious that Reddit isn't just a passive observer of deep web culture, it acts as a subtle amplifier. Even threads that appear mundane on the surface can spark discussions that stretch into deeper hidden territories. Users share tips, warnings, and indirect instructions without ever fully revealing their sources. It's almost like a game of telephone where the knowledge passes along, modified and obscured, so that each layer only sees part of the picture. This creates a culture of partial exposure. Everyone knows there's more beneath the surface, but no one has full access. And that uncertainty makes the iceberg feel much larger and more mysterious than it actually is. Another defining feature of this tier is the mix of curiosity and caution. Posts aren't just casual explorations anymore, they're informed experiments. Users speculate about links, networks, or techniques, but they do so with deliberate vagueness. You'll see someone explain a multi-step anonymization process in general terms, or warn against unsafe sites, or describe past encounters with suspicious content without ever naming specifics. The conversations feel like controlled intelligence sharing, where the knowledge is valuable but too dangerous to reveal openly. Reddit becomes a place where the average user is allowed glimpses of something bigger, but never the full story, maintaining an ongoing tension between intrigue and restraint. Tier 3 also highlights the community's obsession with patterns and anomalies. Users meticulously track deleted threads, vanished accounts, or recurring behaviors of certain shadowy profiles. They notice which posts disappear faster than others, which AMAs vanish entirely, and which accounts always post technical insights that seem beyond ordinary knowledge. Every anomaly sparks speculation. Was this a moderator deletion, a self-censoring OP, or something more deliberate, perhaps orchestrated by accounts connected to external networks? While nothing here is proven, the pattern of unexplained activity feeds the growing perception that Reddit is far more than a social network. It's a platform quietly intersecting with the boundaries of the deep web. Oh, then there's the matter of cryptic communications and code-like posts. In some fringe subreddits, users have shared strings of text or posts that read almost like digital ciphers. Occasionally, these posts are followed by comments speculating about hidden instructions or references to offsite networks. Most of the time, they turn out to be puzzles, games, or hoaxes, but their repeated presence, sometimes vanishing almost immediately, adds to the sense that Reddit hosts glimpses of activity that never fully surfaces. Even if most of it is harmless, the aura of secrecy is tangible. Reddit becomes a shadow theater. The stage is public, but the backstage remains hidden. Another layer of Tier 3 is the legend of lost knowledge on Reddit. Users frequently reference past posts, long-deleted subreddits, or vanished AMAs that supposedly contain content too sensitive or revealing to remain online. Some of these accounts claim to have screenshots, fragments, or secondhand accounts of what was discussed, but the originals are gone. This contributes to the mythology. Reddit holds traces of conversations that brush against the deep web, but remain inaccessible to most users. It's a digital memory gap that sparks theories, rumors, and endless speculation. By the end of Tier 3, the feeling is unmistakable. Reddit isn't directly part of the deep web, but it exists as a liminal space, a boundary where normal internet activity meets glimpses of the hidden, the cryptic, and the unexplored. Patterns of vanishing content, cryptic users, phantom posts, and shadow communities all suggest that the platform operates at the edge of something much larger. Users experience fragments, rumors, and hints, and these fragments feed the curiosity that propels many further down the iceberg. Reddit is both a gateway and a filter. It allows glimpses of the deep web without fully exposing anyone, cultivating an entire layer of intrigue and uncertainty. This is where things start to feel truly unsettling. Tier 4 isn't just about curiosity or speculation. It's where the patterns in Reddit's community start to feel intentional. The conversations shift from casual observation to theory, and the hints from previous tiers begin to line up in ways that make some users question whether Reddit itself is acting as more than just a platform. This is the point where speculation meets possibility, and where Reddit starts to feel like it could be part of a hidden ecosystem, quietly bridging the surface internet with the deeper, more secretive networks lurking below. One of the first phenomena you notice in Tier 4 is the idea of Reddit as a recruitment platform. Users often report encountering posts or comments that seem benign at first, but subtly guide newcomers toward privacy tools, encrypted messaging apps, or even offsite forums that are decidedly more secretive. These aren't direct instructions or illegal content. They're hints, nudges, and recommendations that feel almost deliberate. Some theorists suggest that these kinds of posts could act as a funnel, drawing curious users gradually toward networks operating in the shadows. Even though most of it is likely innocent, the sheer frequency of these subtle redirections is hard to ignore. Reddit seems to function as a training ground, teaching people the language and the tools and the practices needed to explore hidden corners of the web safely, or at least without immediate exposure. Another hallmark of Tier 4 is the emergence of accounts with overlapping activity across Reddit and alleged deep web networks. Users have noticed accounts that post highly technical guides on Reddit and privacy or cybersecurity forums, and then under different handles show up in discussions about deeper online communities. The connections are mostly anecdotal, but the repetition is notable. Some users theorize that these individuals act as intermediaries, sharing just enough information to guide curious users while never revealing too much. Others think they could be moderators, researchers, or even automated accounts designed to monitor or influence conversations. Whatever the explanation, the effect is the same. Reddit appears less like a neutral platform and more like a carefully curated space where some information is encouraged and other information is silently discouraged. Tier 4 also introduces the Tor mirror bot theory, one of the most persistent ideas in Reddit lore. Users claim that certain automated accounts monitor Reddit for posts containing links or references to onion domains, saving or archiving them before the content disappears. These bots supposedly repost the information on other forums, share it with private communities, or even store it in deep web repositories. While there is no public proof that these bots exist in the way people describe, the theory persists because of the sheer number of vanished threads and the consistent timing of some posts. People start to imagine Reddit as more than a discussion platform. It becomes a data pipeline, a place where information that crosses the boundary into the hidden internet can be collected, redirected, and preserved without most users ever noticing. Another chilling aspect of this tier is the phenomenon of deleted subreddit archives. Entire communities that once openly discussed topics relating to hidden networks, privacy exploits, or early deep web marketplaces have vanished without trace. Users claim that the content didn't just disappear, it was systematically removed, leaving behind gaps in Reddit's digital memory. Screenshots, comments, and anecdotal references suggest that these subreddits once contained highly detailed discussions about tools, links, and methods for navigating hidden parts of the web. Their sudden removal adds to the sense that Tier 4 isn't just about curiosity, it's about controlled exposure. Reddit is no longer a passive space, it's actively shaping what users see and don't see, deciding which fragments of knowledge are allowed to persist. Tier 4 is where the rumors about Reddit admins themselves start circulating. Some users claim that certain moderators or admin accounts are privy to information about hidden subreddits, shadow communities, or deep web-related activity, and that these individuals quietly control the flow of information. There are stories of AMAs disappearing only after admin intervention, of entire threads being wiped with no explanation, and of comments mysteriously vanishing while replies to them remain. Whether true or not, these claims contribute to an atmosphere where Reddit no longer feels like a neutral platform. Instead, it feels like a curated ecosystem, where visibility, access, and knowledge are subtly managed to guide users down certain paths while keeping others out of reach. In Tier 4, the atmosphere becomes even more controlled and intentional. One of the most persistent theories involves Reddit's shadow communities, subreddits that appear to exist outside public listings, accessible only through invites or referral links. These spaces are rumored to host discussions that would never survive on the main site, highly technical privacy tutorials, speculative discussions about marketplaces, and encrypted communications that hint at connections beyond Reddit itself. Users who claim to have glimpsed these subs describe them as heavily moderated with strict hierarchies of trust. Posts are precise, warnings are constant, and newcomers are guided carefully through the information. These communities create the impression of a parallel Reddit, one that operates almost entirely out of sight, yet share subtle ties with the visible platform. Another defining characteristic of this tier is the appearance of ghost accounts, profiles that exist seemingly for the sole purpose of monitoring, guiding, or occasionally correcting discussions related to the deep web. They rarely participate in casual conversation and often post in bursts that follow a predictable pattern. Their activity appears deliberate, as if someone or something is maintaining oversight. Some theorists suggest these accounts could be connected to bots, admin surveillance, or even external entities, using Reddit as a collection and distribution point. Others argue they're experienced users acting as informal gatekeepers. Whatever the truth, their presence adds to the growing feeling that Reddit in Tier 4 isn't just a passive observer, it's actively influencing how information flows. Tier 4 also highlights the Reddit Deep Web data pipeline theory. Observant users have noticed that some posts discussing sensitive topics, technical exploits, or hidden directories seem to vanish almost immediately. Screenshots or secondhand accounts suggest that in some cases the content may have been captured and archived elsewhere. The theory posits that Reddit is indirectly feeding information into external networks, whether intentionally or through automated processes. While concrete evidence is scarce, the pattern is persistent enough that it fuels speculation. The idea is chilling. Reddit may act as a middle ground, funneling curiosity and partial knowledge into deeper, more secretive spaces where ordinary users cannot follow. Another unsettling aspect of Tier 4 involves the role of admin intervention in shaping narratives. Many of the AMA's technical guides or posts about deep web activity disappear with little explanation. Sometimes entire comment threads vanish, leaving only the most innocuous content visible. Users speculate that admins selectively preserve certain discussions while removing others, creating a curated experience. Some suggest that this ensures Reddit can act as a controlled gateway, allowing glimpses of the hidden web without exposing users to its full dangers. Even if these claims are exaggerated, the perception is powerful. Reddit is no longer neutral. Every deletion, every vanished thread, and every shadowed post contributes to an ecosystem where knowledge is managed, filtered, and selectively exposed. Tier 4 introduces the connected networks theory. Some users believe that certain mod teams communicate with operators of deep web forums or encrypted networks. While there's no proof of this, recurring coincidences like simultaneous moderation of similar topics across multiple subreddits, sudden removal of posts coinciding with external events, and discussions that vanish only after attracting attention have fueled speculation. Whether true or not, it creates the sense that Reddit exists as a node in a larger network, a platform that is both public-facing and quietly tied to hidden activity. The deeper you look, the more it feels like the iceberg's shadow extends well beyond what you can see, suggesting that Reddit may operate as a subtle connector between mainstream curiosity and deeper unseen digital worlds. Tier 4 isn't about the myths or playful curiosity of the upper tiers. This is where speculation begins to feel plausible. The patterns are too consistent to ignore. Vanished threads, ghost accounts, shadow communities, admin interventions, and the possibility of external connections all contribute to a feeling that Reddit is much more than it appears. It is no longer simply a social platform. It has become a gateway, a filter, and perhaps even a guide for those who tread closer to the hidden corners of the web. And with Tier 4 behind us, we're now ready to enter the abyss, Tier 5, where the darkest rumors, unconfirmed theories, and most unsettling ideas take hold, and Reddit's potential ties to the deep web feel almost inescapable. As we close Tier 4, the sense of intentionality becomes undeniable. The patterns we've seen, the vanished threads, the shadow communities, the cryptic accounts, and the unexplained admin interventions all combine to create a picture of Reddit as more than a simple social platform. It begins to feel like a carefully managed ecosystem, one where curiosity is nurtured just enough to guide users down a controlled path, but never fully expose them to the real depth of the hidden web. Users report the same recurring experiences, sudden deletions of detailed technical posts, AMAs that evaporate overnight, ghost accounts that correct or warn others, and shadowed subreddits that appear and disappear without explanation. Individually, these events might seem trivial, but together they form a consistent pattern that suggests Reddit may act as a gateway and filter simultaneously, teaching, teasing, and controlling access all at once. Another striking feature of this tier is the community's growing awareness of invisible boundaries. Regular users, especially those who frequent privacy, security, and fringe subreddits, often comment on how careful you must be when exploring certain topics. Warnings abound. Don't click links you don't fully understand. Stay anonymous and use multiple layers of protection. These comments aren't paranoia, they're practical advice. But the frequency and specificity suggest that a subset of Reddit users has extensive knowledge of the hidden web and its potential dangers. Tier 4 reveals that Reddit isn't just showing users the surface, it's subtly teaching them how to behave if they ever go deeper, all while controlling the flow of sensitive information. Then there's the persistent speculation about coordinated activity across multiple subreddits. Observant users notice that certain topics like technical exploits, onion links, and private networks tend to appear in different communities almost simultaneously. Posts that might seem unrelated at first glance often follow the same patterns: an initial inquiry, detailed responses from experienced users, and then sudden moderation or deletion. Some theorists propose that these threads are guided either by admins, gatekeepers, or automated accounts to shape discussion without exposing the public to unsafe material. Whether it's true or not, this gives Reddit a sense of order beneath the apparent chaos, and that the platform feels like a controlled environment where information can flow, but only allowed along pathways someone or something has approved. Tier 4 also highlights the meticulous preservation and disappearance of content. Users notice screenshots surfacing long after original posts are gone, indicating that information may be captured and stored offsite. At the same time, certain threads disappear without a trace. This duality creates a unique effect. Some knowledge is immortalized in fragments, while other pieces vanish completely. The result is an ecosystem where curiosity is fed selectively, leaving users to speculate about the missing pieces. Reddit becomes a puzzle itself, some pieces visible, others deliberately hidden, and the full picture tantalizingly out of reach. Tier 4 sets the stage for the most unsettling theories. This is where users start asking the questions that have no clear answers. Are there connections between Reddit and hidden networks that are being managed quietly? Are some accounts deliberately guiding users toward or away from certain knowledge? Could Reddit itself function as a controlled gateway to the deep web, allowing glimpses without full exposure? While none of this is confirmed, the repeated patterns make it difficult to dismiss. Tier 4 demonstrates that Reddit is no longer just a place for curiosity. It has become a structured environment of partial exposure, a platform that teases, filters, and subtly guides users as they descend toward the most obscure and secretive corners of the internet. This is where the iceberg stops being a curiosity and starts feeling dangerous. Tier 5 isn't just speculation or indirect hints anymore. It's where the most unsettling theories, rumors, and unexplained phenomena converge. Users here aren't just discussing privacy tools or vanished threads. They're talking about accounts, subreddits, and interactions that suggest Reddit may be more deeply intertwined with hidden networks than most people realize. The tone shifts dramatically. What was once cautious curiosity now borders on genuine apprehension. Reddit at this level is no longer just a platform. It feels like a threshold to something far darker. One of the first patterns you notice is the prevalence of phantom communities. These are subreddits that appear briefly, gain traction, and vanish entirely, leaving only a handful of screenshots or anecdotal references. Users report that these communities often discuss sensitive or illicit topics, technical exploits, anonymized marketplace operations, or even encrypted communication methods. What's striking is the consistency. Phantom communities don't just appear at random, they follow a rhythm, emerging and disappearing in ways that suggest deliberate management. Whether controlled by Reddit itself, by trusted community members, or by external actors, these fleeting spaces hint at a hidden ecosystem operating in parallel to the visible platform. Another defining feature of Tier 5 is the presence of ghost accounts and untraceable operators. Unlike the ghost accounts in Tier 3 or Tier 4, which are cautious and methodical, these accounts operate with a high degree of autonomy and almost complete opacity. They post cryptic messages, respond to specific queries with detailed technical knowledge, and vanish without leaving a trail. Users speculate that some of these accounts may function as intermediaries between Reddit and deeper networks, sharing just enough information to guide certain users while remaining undetectable. The sheer frequency and precision of these accounts have led to a growing belief that they are purposefully designed to control, influence, or observe the flow of sensitive information. Tier 5 also introduces the concept of Reddit as a controlled intelligence node. Observers note patterns in how posts are moderated, how comments vanish, and how certain topics are allowed to flourish while others are wiped without explanation. Some theorists propose that Reddit may act as a data filtration system, allowing glimpses of hidden web activity while preventing full exposure. Users have noticed that technical guides, discussions of encryption, and hints about hidden networks often disappear after short bursts of activity, while more general discussions are left intact. This creates a carefully managed ecosystem. Knowledge is disseminated selectively, curiosity is guided, and exposure to sensitive information is controlled. Reddit begins to feel less like a forum and more like a curated gateway to the unseen corners of the web. Another chilling aspect of this tier is the reports of coordinated monitoring across multiple subreddits. Users notice that discussions related to deep web activity, technical anonymity, or hidden marketplaces often appear in several communities almost simultaneously. posts with sensitive content vanish in parallel, sometimes replaced by generic warnings or redirects. The timing is too precise to be purely coincidental, leading to speculation that a combination of admins, automated systems, and highly experienced gatekeepers may actively manage the flow of information. For many, this creates a creeping sense of observation. Every post, every comment, every question is potentially being monitored by unseen entities with a vested interest in what is visible and what remains hidden. Tier 5 also deals heavily with vanishing AMAs and detailed personal accounts. These are posts where users claim direct experience with deep web networks, illicit marketplaces, or high-level anonymity operations. Almost invariably, the detailed replies disappear shortly after posting. Occasionally, fragments survive in screenshots, but the full discussions vanish. Observers speculate that either the authors remove the content out of fear, moderators intervene, or external parties may even request deletions. Whatever the cause, the effect is profound. The platform itself feels like a temporary window, offering brief glimpses into hidden activity before pulling the curtain close. Users begin to sense that Reddit is not merely a repository of curiosity, it is a managed space that teases the abyss without ever letting anyone fall fully in. As we move deeper, the atmosphere becomes increasingly tense, fueled by the presence of cryptic communications and coded posts. Users report seeing seemingly innocuous comments or strings of text that resemble encrypted messages or hidden instructions. Some theorists claim these could be dead drops or coordinates to offsite networks, while others argue they are elaborate puzzles or hoaxes. What makes them unsettling is the context. They often appear in threads about privacy Tor or vanish marketplaces and then disappear almost as quickly as they appear. The fleeting nature of these posts creates the impression that Reddit is a channel for information that must remain transient, visible only to those who are prepared to interpret it, while the average user sees nothing but fragments. Another hallmark of Tier 5 is the recurring reports of coordinated knowledge dissemination. Users have noticed that specific technical guides, ranging from multi-layer VPN setups to operational security practices, tend to propagate across multiple subreddits in a structured way. These guides often come from users with highly specialized knowledge who never reveal their identities. Some theorists suggest that these individuals or accounts are intentionally spreading information, not randomly posting advice. The knowledge is shared just enough to educate, but never so much that it becomes actionable without further research or guidance. Reddit, in this view, is functioning as a controlled educator, carefully moderating the depth of exposure while hinting at what lies beyond. Tier 5 also highlights the persistent mythos of lost or deleted knowledge. Long deleted subreddits, vanished AMAs, and removed threads leave behind only fragmented screenshots or secondhand accounts. Some of these fragments suggest that highly sensitive discussions once took place on Reddit, discussions about hidden web marketplaces, encrypted communication networks, and privacy exploits that never reappeared. Users speculate endlessly. Were these posts deliberately removed by moderators? Were they archived elsewhere? Or were they caught up in automated monitoring systems designed to prevent sensitive information from circulating? The effect is the same. Reddit feels like a partial archive, revealing glimpses of something far larger while concealing the majority of the content. Another unsettling component of this tier is the phenomenon of ghost moderators and invisible oversight. Some users believe that certain moderators have access to tools beyond what typical users can see, including logs, deletion histories, and possibly even alerts from automated systems monitoring sensitive topics. The result is a community that is heavily curated from the shadows. Posts discussing sensitive topics often vanish almost immediately, while peripheral discussions remain untouched. Whether this oversight is driven by Reddit admins, volunteer moderators, or automated tools, the impact is clear. Reddit is operating as a managed environment where curiosity is allowed only within carefully defined limits. Tier 5 introduces the concept of Reddit as a bridge to the unknown. Users frequently speculate that some of the cryptic posts, ghost accounts, and vanishing threads serve a purpose beyond mere moderation or discussion. They may act as guides, nudging curious users towards specific tools, networks, or forums deeper in the web. While nothing has been verified, the repeated patterns, the sudden appearance and disappearance of accounts, posts, and subreddits suggest a deliberate shaping of information. Reddit feels less like a neutral platform and more like a gateway with guardrails, offering glimpses of the abyss while keeping the majority of users safely on the surface. Tier 5 is no longer about simple curiosity, it's about exposure, control, and influence. Users begin to realize that Reddit's structure, moderation patterns, and recurring anomalies are not random. They form a consistent framework that guides engagement with the deeper layers of the internet. By the end of this section, one thing is clear. Reddit is not simply a social platform adjacent to the deep web. It may be intimately connected to it, shaping how users approach, understand, and interact with hidden networks. This is the abyss, a space where curiosity meets carefully managed exposure, and where glimpses of the hidden web appear briefly before fading into the shadows. The unsettling patterns of this tier only become more apparent. The combination of vanishing threads, ghost accounts, cryptic posts, and shadowed subreddits creates an ecosystem where curiosity and caution coexist in a delicate balance. Users start to understand that Reddit is not merely a discussion platform. It is a controlled environment where exposure to sensitive or hidden content is carefully managed. Every deletion, disappearance, or sudden emergence of information contributes to the sense that Reddit functions as a gateway into a controlled subset of the deep web, providing glimpses of the unknown while preventing full immersion. One of the most unnerving aspects of this tier is the perceived orchestration of information flow. Many users note that certain technical guides or discussions about anonymity, Tor, and hidden networks appear just enough to educate, but vanish before they become actionable. This consistent behavior across multiple subreddits suggests more than coincidence. It hints at deliberate guidance. Reddit seems to be subtly shaping how users engage with deeper networks, introducing concepts, warning of dangers, and carefully controlling the timing and availability of information. In Tier 5, the platform starts to feel like a gatekeeper, letting knowledge trickle through in measured doses rather than allowing unrestricted access. Another feature that defines the abyss is the prevalence of disconnected fragments of lost communities. Screenshots, archived posts, and anecdotal recollections suggest that discussions about hidden marketplaces, anonymized communications, and security exploits once thrived on Reddit, only to disappear almost entirely. Users often attempt to piece together these fragments, forming theories about what was once present. The missing pieces add a layer of mystique, reinforcing the idea that Reddit is a platform teasing its users with glimpses of forbidden knowledge. The scarcity of surviving content increases its perceived value, making each fragment feel like a clue left behind in a carefully orchestrated puzzle. Tier 5 also amplifies the notion of cryptic interaction networks. Accounts that post sporadically yet with extreme precision are often interpreted as intermediaries or guides. They provide hints, corrections, and guidance without ever fully disclosing their sources or intentions. Observers speculate that these accounts could be human or automated, possibly working to influence discussions or maintain the platform's controlled exposure to hidden content. The repeated appearance of such accounts across multiple subreddits creates a sense that an unseen hand is guiding curious users, subtly shaping how they navigate the platform and interact with deeper layers of the web. Perhaps most chilling are the rumors of admin-level involvement in managing sensitive content. Users report that certain AMAs, technical guides, and even discussions about privacy tools vanish following intervention by moderators or admins. Some speculate that these actions are coordinated, targeting discussions that could bridge the gap between casual curiosity and dangerous experimentation. Whether these interventions are motivated by legal liability, platform policy, or deeper oversight is unknown. What matters is the perception. Reddit users increasingly feel that their exposure to the abyss is carefully curated and controlled from above, reinforcing the platform's role as a filter between the mainstream internet and the deep web. Tier 5 culminates in the realization that Reddit operates as a managed window into hidden digital spaces. It allows curiosity to flourish, but only within boundaries deemed safe or at least manageable. Users glimpse cryptic posts, vanished threads, shadowed communities, and coordinated guidance, creating an ecosystem where exposure is carefully measured. By the end of this tier, it becomes clear that Reddit's relationship with the hidden web is far more complex than casual speculation suggests. It is no longer just a social platform or a forum for discussion. It is a gateway, filter, and curator, a place where the unknown can be seen but never fully explored. Welcome to the deepest layer, the point where the iceberg is no longer merely a metaphor but a warning. Tier 6 is the final frontier of Reddit's rumored connections to the hidden web, a space where speculation, folklore, and chilling anecdotes converge. This is where the most obscure, least verifiable, and often most disturbing content allegedly exists. At this depth, Reddit stops being a casual discussion platform. It begins to feel like a shadow ecosystem, a place where curiosity intersects with things users are not meant to fully see, and where the consequences of exploring further are largely unknown. One of the first things you notice in Tier 6 is the prevalence of disappearing archives and deleted histories. Entire subreddits, once known for their technical guides, encrypted communications, or deep web discussions, have vanished without a trace. Only fragments remain, screenshots, anecdotal accounts, or references in unrelated threads. Users speculate endlessly about what was lost. Some claim these communities contain detailed instructions for accessing hidden networks, performing complex anonymity operations, or even engaging with marketplaces that skirted the boundaries of legality. The total absence of these posts has created a digital folklore. Communities remembered only in their fragments, their content tantalizingly out of reach, leaving users to wonder whether the deletions were accidental, policy-driven, or part of a more deliberate effort to erase traces of sensitive knowledge. Another defining aspect of this tier is the alleged presence of accounts with extraordinary reach and knowledge. These accounts rarely interact in casual conversation. Instead, they post cryptic hints, correct misinformation with almost prescient accuracy, and vanish without explanation. Observers theorize that some of these accounts might act as intermediaries between Reddit and networks much deeper in the web, silently guiding select users while remaining undetectable to the general public. Their presence contributes to the sense that Reddit at this layer is less a social platform and more a controlled gateway, selectively exposing users to glimpses of the abyss while shielding them from its full dangers. Tier 6 also introduces the concept of cryptic cross-platform coordination. Users report noticing correlations between activity on Reddit and posts or discussions on other obscure forums or encrypted networks. Threads discussing sensitive tools, hidden marketplaces, or privacy exploits sometimes appear simultaneously across multiple spaces and vanish just as quickly. While there is no concrete evidence of coordination, the recurrence of these patterns has led theorists to propose that Reddit may operate as a node within a larger interconnected system. It is a hub where information is filtered, disseminated, and occasionally removed, giving glimpses of hidden activity without exposing users to full access. Another unsettling phenomenon in this tier is the presence of vanishing or phantom AMAs, often by users claiming first-hand experience with deep web networks. These posts sometimes provide extremely detailed accounts, step-by-step descriptions of anonymization techniques, insights into hidden marketplaces, or methods for secure communication. Yet almost invariably, these posts disappear entirely within hours or days, leaving behind only partial screenshots or secondhand recollections. Observers speculate that these disappearances may be influenced by moderators, automated systems, or even external pressures. Whatever the cause, these phantom AMAs reinforce the sense that Reddit is a temporary lens, briefly revealing the hidden web before pulling the veil close. Tier 6 is marked by persistent whispers of unverified yet chilling activity. Users report encountering messages, accounts, or subreddits that hint at illegal operations, secretive collaborations, or even experiments that skirt the edges of law and ethics. Most of these accounts are anecdotal or unverifiable, yet the repetition of these stories over the years has cemented a mythology around Reddit's deepest layer. The platform here is no longer just a forum for discussion. It is an allegorical abyss, a space where the line between curiosity, rumor, and danger becomes almost indistinguishable. The eerie patterns become increasingly pronounced. One of the most notable phenomena is the alleged presence of hidden networks operating through Reddit. Users report seeing cryptic posts, obscure references, and accounts that seem to exist solely to guide discussions toward off-site networks. These accounts rarely interact in typical ways. They don't post memes, join casual threads, or participate in visible communities. Instead, their activity is precise and intentional, often surfacing only in discussions related to privacy, Tor, or anonymized communications. Some theorists propose that these accounts act as intermediaries, providing glimpses into networks that are otherwise inaccessible, while maintaining a strict veil of anonymity to protect themselves and the users they interact with. Another unsettling feature of Tier 6 is the persistent theme of vanishing content. Entire threads, subreddits, and detailed AMAs disappear without explanation, leaving only partial archives or screenshots. Users speculate endlessly about the reasons. Were the posts removed by moderators, automated systems, or external actors? Some claim that these vanishings are too consistent to be coincidental, suggesting deliberate control over what is visible and what is concealed. This creates a sense that Reddit at this layer is not just a platform but a managed space where information is carefully curated to reveal just enough to spark curiosity, while hiding the majority of sensitive or potentially dangerous content. Tier 6 is also defined by the phenomenon of ghost instructions. These are posts or comments that appear briefly containing hints, steps, or references to tools used in the hidden web. They rarely provide full instructions and often disappear quickly, but they are highly detailed in the small fragments that remain. Users speculate that these posts serve as breadcrumbs, guiding those who know how to follow them while remaining largely indecipherable to casual observers. In essence, they act as a cryptic guide, offering knowledge without fully exposing it, reinforcing the idea that Reddit is a curated pathway into deeper layers of the web. Another recurring feature in this layer is the interconnectedness of vanished communities. Observers note that some of the subreddits that have disappeared were highly interlinked through references, cross-posts, or shared moderators. Even when a subreddit vanishes, remnants of its content appear in other communities, leaving behind a digital echo. These echoes fuel speculation about an underlying network of communities, operating semi-independently, yet coordinated enough to leave traces in multiple places. Reddit at this depth starts to feel like a living, breathing ecosystem, one where visibility is carefully managed and knowledge flows along controlled channels. Tier 6 introduces some of the most disturbing claims about Reddit's potential indirect connections to hidden marketplaces and encrypted networks. Users report encountering accounts that hint at access to marketplaces or communities that are otherwise inaccessible to the public. These posts rarely provide actionable links. Instead, they offer vague references, cryptic terminology, and indirect guidance. The consistency of these reports over time has fueled speculation that Reddit may function as a gateway or preparatory platform, exposing users to partial knowledge of the hidden web while preventing direct access. The platform becomes a shadow training ground. It teaches caution, hints at opportunity, and maintains a delicate balance between revealing and concealing. It is unmistakably the point of no casual return. The combination of vanishing threads, ghost accounts, cryptic instructions, and hidden networks makes it clear that Reddit at this depth is far more than a discussion forum. It has become a carefully managed interface with the unseen corners of the internet, an environment where exposure is controlled, curiosity is guided, and the boundaries between the known and the unknown are deliberately maintained. Reddit in Tier 6 is no longer just a platform, it is a shadow gateway to the deepest, most obscure, and potentially dangerous layers of the web. As we reach the conclusion, the atmosphere becomes almost entirely speculative, yet the patterns are persistent enough to feel real. This is the layer where Reddit ceases to be just a forum or community. It becomes a threshold, a space where the familiar interface of upvotes, threads, and comments masks a far more complex network of controlled exposure. Every vanishing thread, ghost account, and cryptic post contributes to the sense that the platform is carefully curated, allowing glimpses of hidden networks, sensitive knowledge, and obscure communities, while shielding the majority of users from direct engagement with truly dangerous content. At this depth, the concept of partial exposure dominates. Users rarely, if ever, gain full access to what lies beneath the surface. Instead, they see fragments, screenshots, anecdotes, or brief interactions that hint at much larger unseen structures. Phantom subreddits and deleted AMAs leave behind a digital mythology, pieces of a puzzle that can never be completed, yet provide just enough intrigue to draw attention further downward. In Tier 6, Reddit acts like a veil, carefully controlling how much is revealed, creating an ecosystem where curiosity is simultaneously encouraged and contained. Ghost accounts and cryptic posts play a central role in maintaining this controlled environment. They provide just enough guidance to stimulate investigation, often hinting at security tools, hidden marketplaces, or encrypted networks, yet they never fully expose their sources. These accounts could be human moderators, sophisticated bots, or even intermediaries tied to external networks, but their presence consistently reinforces the perception that Reddit is more than a social platform. It is a gatekeeper, a space where users can flirt with the edges of forbidden knowledge without ever stepping fully into it. The abyss is always partially obscured, leaving users with glimpses that are tantalizing, unsettling, and often unexplainable. The combination of vanishing content, phantom communities, cryptic interactions, and coordinated monitoring creates a unique dynamic, a platform where knowledge flows in carefully measured amounts. Users can explore, theorize, and experiment, but always within boundaries defined by unseen forces, moderators, automated systems, or even external entities. Tier 6 is where Reddit's potential connection to the hidden web feels most tangible. It is no longer just a space of rumor or curiosity. It has become a controlled gateway, guiding users along the edge of the unknown while maintaining a careful separation between surface and deep web activity. This tier highlights the psychological effect on users. Those who venture this deep often report a mixture of fascination and unease. The fragments of knowledge, the vanishing threads, and the cryptic guidance all contribute to a sense of being on the edge of something far larger and more secretive. Reddit in this context becomes almost like a map to the hidden corners of the internet, but one drawn in partial sketches, incomplete legends, and disappearing markers. It teases, warns, and fascinates simultaneously. In conclusion, the deepest layer cements Reddit's role in the iceberg as something more than a social platform. Across all tiers, the progression from casual curiosity to partial exposure demonstrates a consistent pattern. Reddit is a gateway, a filter, and a curator of hidden knowledge. Tier 6 shows us that the platform at its extremes is not merely adjacent to the deep web. It functions as a controlled interface to it, revealing fragments while concealing the majority, teasing curiosity without offering full access, and leaving users perpetually aware of the depths that lie just beyond reach. And with that, our journey through Reddit's iceberg ends. From the surface curiosities of Tier 1 to the shadowed mysteries of Tier 6, we've explored the platform's subtle connections to hidden networks, cryptic communities, and vanishing knowledge. The iceberg is vast, and even at the deepest layer, much remains unseen, but the patterns, hints, and anomalies are enough to leave a lingering sense of intrigue and unease.